Hello, welcome to Myth, History and Recipe. Today I am going to share with you an amazing legend, the Aztec creation myth and the story of the fifth sun. Yes, the fifth sun. That means, according to them, four different suns came and sailed in the skies and they had to go before what we have today is the fifth sun. Before we begin the story, let's know who were the Aztecs. The Aztecs were the indigenous people of present day northern Mexico, and their empire covered most of Mesoamerica. The story begins with the Aztec creation god Ometeotl, the face that you can see in the middle. In the starting, there was only him and nothing else. He was good, he was bad, he was chaos, and he was also order. He was a dual god, that means he was both male as well as female. His male form was called Tonacatacutla and his female form was called Tonacatesqua. God Ometeotl had four children: Red, Sipatotec, the god of the seasons, and the god of the north direction; Black, Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, and the god of the west direction; White, Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, and the god of the east direction; Blue, Quetzalcoatl, the hummingbird of the south, and the god of the south direction. Of these, the most powerful was Tezcatlipoca. They all lived in the heaven with their parent until one day they decided to create the universe. The first attempt to create the world was made by Quetzalcoatl and Huitzilopochtli. Now, in order to create the world, they had to create the sun first. So, in order to create the sun, they both created a fire. But unfortunately, this fire was not good enough and it did not turn into a good sun. It created only half sun and it did not emit sufficient light. After the gods made the sun, the gods made a man named Sipaton and a woman named Hoxila. The gods also informed both of them about their duties. The man was supposed to work in the field and be a farmer. The woman was supposed to spin thread and make garments. The gods also gifted women with maize. The man and the woman had many children, they worked on the land, and they were called the Masahuaras. After this, the gods made time. According to the Aztec calendar, 21 days made 1 month, 18 months made 1 year, so in all, there were 360 days. After this, the gods made the underworld called the Mitlan. They also made two other gods, the Lord and the Lady of the underworld. Next, the god made water and placed a giant fish in it. The fish was called Sipakatli, and it is this fish that converted to the earth. In spite of all this, there wasn't sufficient light of the sun. Now, as there wasn't sufficient light, Tezcatlipoca thought of transforming himself to the sun. So he transformed himself into the sun, and that marked the beginning of the first age of the first sun. After this, the gods made a race of giants. They ate only pine nuts and they could easily uproot big trees. For a while, everything seemed to be fine until one day, Quetzalcoatl thought that his brother Tezcatlipoca had become the sun for quite a long time, exactly 676 years. So he came and with his club he struck Tezcatlipoca down and Tezcatlipoca went down into the water. Tezcatlipoca was very angry. He rose above the water in the form of a jaguar. He roamed all over the earth and he hunted down all the giants. After that he rose into the heaven and became the constellation Ursa Major. The age of the second sun was the age of the wind, and during this time the Masahualas ate only pine nuts. This age lasted for 676 years. After this, Tezcatlipoca took revenge on his brother and everything was blown away in the wind and nothing remained. The Masahualas hid themselves in the jungle in the form of monkeys. Next, Tlaloc became the third sun and this age lasted for 304 years. During this time, Masahualas ate the seed of an aqua plant. It was now Quetzalcoatl's turn to be angry. He brought a rain of fire and all the Masahualas turned into birds. Quetzalcoatl gave this world to rule to Tlaloc's wife Chalchibuklikyu. She was a jade skirt woman and she became the sun for the next 312 years. She was a goddess of river, water, streams, etc. There was a great flood during her time, and all the people, the Masawalas, turned into fish. The sky fell down on the earth, and everything was over. So now Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca made peace with each other. They realized there was no point in fighting with each other. The sky had fallen on the earth. They decided to do an amazing thing. They turned themselves into trees, and these trees pushed the sky back into the place where it was. God Tonacatacutla was pleased with this gesture of Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca. So he gave them both the starry heavens and the Milky Way for both of them to rule. Now there were no people on the earth, as they had all turned into monkeys, birds, and fish. So Tezcatlipoca took a meeting with his brothers to decide on how to create the next sun. They all decided that the next sun would be created with the help of the sacrifice of human blood and heart. And that's how that would be the real sun which would last longer than the others. Who would make the supreme sacrifice of heart and blood in order to become the sun? A sickly god named Nanawazan offered himself to be sacrificed, but his offer was rejected by the gods. They said that he had sores on his body and he was suffering from leprosy. They all doubted his courage. Instead of him, the gods chose the richest god, Tecustecatl, to make the supreme sacrifice. He came from the place of Conch. He was the most well-dressed god with feather and ornaments, and he also agreed to do this to become the sun. Then gods made a great fire, and Nanawazan and Tecustecatl prepared to sacrifice themselves in order to become the new sun. Now, as the gods had chosen Tecustecatl, it is he who made the offerings first in order to become the sun. First, he offered jade, as he was a rich god. He made the offerings of gold balls, and he also offered the corzel feather. He made all these offerings into the fire so that he could purify himself and finally sacrifice himself in order to become the sun. Nanavardhan was not a very rich god, so he made very simple offerings. He offered humble reeds and the spines of maguey cactus. Finally, the moment of sacrifice came. All the gods gathered near the fire and they expected Tecustecatl to jump into the fire to become the new sun. But at the last moment, Tecustecatl lost his courage. He could not make himself to jump into the fire. So now all the gods were worried. They were wondering what to do. So Nanavardhan, who was watching this from a distance, found his opportunity to become the new sun. So he came dressed in the paper clothes and jumped into the fire. Slowly, he emerged as the new sun. Now here, Tecustecatl felt ashamed of himself. So he also jumped into the fire. And there emerged another sun. So now there were two suns in the sky. Now an eagle and a jaguar were watching this from a distance. They also jumped into the fire and sacrificed themselves. This is why eagles' feathers are tinted black and jaguars also have black spots on their body. The Aztecs created the orders of eagle and jaguar to honor their greatest warriors. Now the problem was there were two suns and there was too much of light. So one of the gods picked up a rabbit and flung it towards Tecustecatl. So Tecustecatl now turned into the moon. And today also we can see the face of a rabbit on the moon. The gods were happy after this. They had both the sun as well as the moon. The sun was called Olin Tonatiuh. But now came another problem. Olin Tonatiuh refused to move in the sky. He said he would not move unless and until all the gods sacrificed themselves. Now the gods had no choice. They gave in and they came bare-chested. And Quetzalcoatl came with sacrificial knife and cut off their hearts. Then he gathered their clothes and ornaments into bundles. And these bundles are still worshipped by the people. Now Tonatiuh had got the blood that he required. So he started sailing in the sky as the fifth sun. And today also the same fifth sun is sailing in the sky. And it is because of this legend that the Aztec people have the custom of sacrificing to keep the sun sailing in the sky. You just heard the Aztec creation myth. There's one more gift that the Aztecs have given to this world, and that's here in my hands. It's very delicious and very tasty, and nobody in the world can live without it. Even I just love it. Can you guess what it could be? It is the chocolate. Yes. The chocolate is a gift that the Aztecs have given to the world. Basically, chocolate is made out of cacao seeds, and cacao seeds were cultivated in their region many years back, and it was considered that their god Quetzalcoatl, about whom we heard in the myth, the story of the fifth sun. It is that god, he brought this cacao seeds to the world, and it was a gift of Quetzalcoatl to the Aztec people. And actually it is also said that their god Quetzalcoatl was condemned by the other gods because he showed this seed to the humans. So the Aztecs used to mix spices and chili with the cacao seeds, and used to drink it as a bitter drink for gaining strength. But the ones who really converted it to the chocolate were the Europeans. The Europeans mixed sugar with the cacao seeds, and that's how chocolate was made.
And now it's time for today's recipe. And of course, today we are going to learn how to make chocolate. I'm going to teach you how I make chocolate in my home. And see, we are going to use only 4 ingredients. That's Amulia dairy whitener, the milk powder, the cocoa powder, which is actually the powder of cacao seeds which the Aztecs used. Then there is this dalda vanaspati. You can use any other ghee also, but the dalda vanaspati is better in this. And lastly, we have the sugar. So only with these 4 ingredients, I am going to make chocolate. So here all my ingredients have been taken out. Is 4 parts of milk powder, 1 part of cocoa powder, 3/4 part of this vanaspati ghee, and 3 parts of sugar. Now first of all, I am going to mix this milk powder, cocoa powder and the vanaspati ghee. So here I have mixed all those 3 ingredients, the milk powder, the cocoa powder and the vanaspati ghee. I have taken sugar and added a little water to it only so that the sugar gets dipped in water. I have taken a mold and greased it, and I have taken a thali also and greased it properly. And now I have started heating the sugar, and I am going to bring it to 1 string consistency. The syrup should be of 1 string consistency. You can see now the sugar syrup is getting ready, and very soon it will be of 1 string consistency. We will be checking it here itself like this. So now I think it has come to 1 string consistency. When we are dropping it, it forms a thread kind of. The last drop will come, there will be a thread. So that is 1 string consistency. You can see it. Yes. So I will remove it from the heat, and I will mix it with this mixture. So I will mix all this vigorously as fast as possible. Mixture is ready now, and I will be transferring it to the different molds that I have. So here you can see I have already transferred the chocolate to the various molds, and I've also transferred it on a thali, and I'm going to make cuts of diamond shape for this. And chocolate is ready. You can see here now we have a girl's face, an elephant, a smiley, a crown, a teddy bear, and we even have this Eiffel Tower and the sun, and in between is the heart shape. This chocolate, believe me, it's really delicious, and even if I make a kilo of chocolates, my family would finish it within just 8 days. So try this recipe and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
So, in this episode, in the myth section, I have presented the story of the Aztec creation myth and the story of the sun god of the Aztecs. In the history section, we came to know about the history of how chocolate was developed and who first made chocolates. And in the recipe section, we learned how to make chocolate. So, there's one more thing I want to add to this, and that is do you know that in various ancient cultures of the world, the sun god was prayed, and in India also the sun god is prayed, and the sun god of India has 12 names. Similarly, in Egypt also there was a sun god, and his name was Ra, and Mesopotamians also prayed to the sun god. And it seems that in all ancient cultures they prayed to the natural elements of the nature, and this is one very important thing about them, because they never thought about one god, they prayed to various natural elements, and maybe that is why they could sustain themselves in the nature, as they prayed to all the natural elements instead of a god. So, that is a point to ponder about. Do think about it. In the later episodes, I will be coming with various other myths of the other sun gods. Thank you. And if you have liked this episode of mine, please like and share, and also comment and tell me what you would like to see the next. Thank you.